back to Rethink Healthcare. I'm Tanya Stendy.
Paul Montenegro.
Actually, I don't think we did that in our last video.
We forgot.
Oh.
Anyway,
Anyway.
You would think that they would know our faces.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? When you go through the airport, don't they just say, "Hey, Tanya, I watched your show."
Exactly, right, exactly. So, continuing on our system as control, we are going to talk about the FDA today. That is a big system control.
Yes. Now, is there FDAs in other countries, kind of thing?
I think there's
some sort of form. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think actually in the Philippines, I think it's actually called the FDA as well.
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah. I'm not sure. I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I'm not directly involved.
Yeah.
I don't have any dealings with that.
Yeah.
But at least here in the United States, Food and Drug Administration, it's a government agency.
Yeah.
And it's an agency with pretty big power.
Yeah.
Here, because they could definitely put a stop to things that they feel is unsafe. So let's think of we talk about system controls, right?
Yeah.
What does it really? What is the role of the FDA? I mean, let's start with that.
To control the safety of new foods and drugs coming out onto the market.
But it's not just food and drug. I mean, their goal is to protect the public health.
Yeah.
So, however domain falls under public health, wherein drug safety, as you talked about, the efficacy of medications.
Yes.
That's a big thing, actually, the efficacy of medications, and we could touch about that. They control medical devices, because all part of safety. They control, I believe, anything that emits radiation falls under them as well. So, go throw away your kryptonite.
Right.
Food supply, that falls under FDA. Now, when I did the reading, it said cosmetics, but I'm not entirely sure about that because there's some gray areas with that, whether it goes in FDA or not.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, that's the role. Biologic products, that falls under that too. So I guess from the nursing end, one of the biggest things would be medications.
Yeah. And devices.
And devices. So I guess let's start with medications. And this is why I am a big believer of the FDA and the powers and controls that it has, because the medications that is in the United States, purchased in the United States, are actually quality checked. Meaning the FDA will break apart the medication drug and really analyze what components are there. Is it the right percentages?
Yeah, is it doing what it says it's going to do too?
Yeah. Yes, that's it. That's the efficacy part.
Yeah.
Now, drugs from other countries who don't go through the FDA don't have that level of scrutiny. So I'm always a fan of, at least here in the United States, you get I have very good assurance that the medication is going to work.
Yeah.
While as medications bought outside the United States that haven't gone through, I'm not sure really is the quantity correct? Is it the right ingredient?
So what's an example? Tell me an example then.
So, for example, I don't want to name countries, but medications produced in other countries may have different formulations within the drug that it says it's going to do.
Are you talking about, for instance, let's say, name a medication, anything?
Digoxin, simple as Tylenol.
Okay, so Tylenol or acetaminophen. If you did, or let's do something that has. Okay, let's say Tylenol is super expensive in this country, so people go to another country to buy it. Is that what you're talking about?
Some people do that, yes.
Yeah, but that's what you're talking about, is buying a medication that we could buy here. We buy it from another country and we can't trust its...
I would not trust it, and I have a lot of friends outside of the country.
Yeah.
One of the things that they sometimes ask me to do is, can you buy these medications for us?
Yeah.
And they will tell me that if I take the medication that came from the United States that I gave them, over-the-counter ones, I'm not prescription ones, right?
Yeah.
They say that works. While what they bought, the exact same thing,
didn't work.
Didn't work.
Oh.
just by way of example, I haven't done any studies myself, but that's just examples of what I'm talking about. And there's research done on that as well.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about those researches, but that's the role of the FDA. Why the FDA is so trusted here. I mean, I've had friends say, "Hey, I can get this medication here cheaper." I tell them, no.
Yeah. Don't do it.
It may cost you more here in the U.S., but at least you have the protection and guarantee that we know the FDA has scrutinized these batches.
Yeah.
If they see a batch is off, that whole batch is thrown away and recalled.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, we go through recalls here of medications, not just medications, but even our food supply. I mean, FDA governs the food supply. If they see a plant that has whatever infection rates or something like that, they'll shut the plant down. They got to do their correction, but then that batch that they produced gets tossed. I mean, I would say at least every week we see the work of the FDA in protecting our food safety. Not just food, but food and drug safety.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wish I'd really know more about some of the intricacies, but the FDA is so large. I have, worked with a couple of things, with the FDA with regards to software, like medical devices.
Yeah.
And but they're also very stringent. They want the research done before they will allow a device to be utilized. However, though, right, some of those researches could be flawed because there are some instances of wherein the some of the implants aren't regulated as well.
Implants?
Yes. For example, a hip implant.
Oh.
Some of those materials aren't regulated as well because and I think the reason
Hopefully my knees are.
No. Well, I think there's regulation there because the FDA will rely on research.
Yeah.
But the FDA, especially on let's say it's a new material being used, the FDA does not do the research themselves.
Yeah.
So
no, they don't. No.
So they rely on research given to them. Now, if that research given to them is flawed,
well, hopefully they are.
well, there was a case on a cobalt implant, and then the patient, who was actually a surgeon, eventually was getting these symptoms that they couldn't figure out why, and they realized that he had cobalt toxicity. It's because of the new cobalt implant that he got.
Huh.
And when they dug into it, it did fall under the FDA's purview to really scrutinize those implants, because it wasn't really a device. It was just a different material.
Yeah.
So I say there's still some loopholes and gray areas there. The experience I had when it comes to medical software, I was trying to work with a company to utilize a medical device, and there is a very big distinction. The device is being used in other parts of the world, Asia, and a little bit of Europe. Now, the distinction became with the FDA was I could still utilize the device, but I could not use the piece on diagnostics with it because it hasn't gone through the requisite research and testing in the United States.
Okay.
So I could use the device, but then I would have to turn off the feature wherein it will help you come up with differentials.
Okay.
So, I ended up not really moving forward with that too much because, that was part of the strength of the device.
Right, exactly.
But the manufacturer that I was working with basically asked me, the first question was, how do we deal with the FDA?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, so it's a big system control that is, obviously to our benefit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, how about the cosmetic stuff? I mean, I don't really use cosmetics.
Well, I do too, but I don't know how much is. I don't know how much is regulated by the FDA in terms of cosmetics.
I mean,
it's not my. I mean, I use the stuff, but I don't. It's not my world.
So let's define cosmetics. Is it like makeup and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
I guess
or
it
lipstick.
is.
And
I guess.
so the FDA, okay. I thought they didn't do that. But how about food supplements? Now that's an interesting thing.
No, they are one. I know they're not.
They're not right. But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
We take it in, so they're regulating food supply and food safety. But how come
Supplements like herbal supplements?
Herbal supplements, or even vitamin supplements. Are vitamin supplements regulated? I'm not
I
sure.
don't think they are.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
why?
I don't know. But that's like that's a thing. People like believe what they're told, and they spend a lot of money on this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's a big industry.
It is a big industry, and you don't know that it's actually, first of all, even has what it says it has in it.
The proper ingredients and components in it. Yes.
Or that it's doing what it says it's going to do.
Yeah. Now,
case in point, there is a lovastatin is a statin drug that is widely prescribed. There is a supplement called red yeast rice that actually acts just like lovastatin. And so stuff like that needs to be looked at more carefully.
it's not the same ingredient though, right?
I don't know actually.
Okay.
Now, as the words were coming out of my mouth, I was thinking, is this some ingredient that they actually use in lovastatin? But I don't know. What I do know is that apparently it acts just like lovastatin as a cholesterol reducer, and not like the other statins, in fact. So that has no regulation, and therefore the safety is unknown, and the efficacy obviously is unknown.
I think these are aspects from a rethinking part, right? I'm not sure why the FDA isn't really diving into much of those.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know.
So, like in our world, let's say as nurse practitioners, when we're deciding on what medication to use, the first thing is this drug is FDA approved for.
Yeah.
Right? So then it's safe for us to prescribe that. Now, if we prescribe a drug that's not FDA approved for that specific disease,
we do that.
when we do,
Yeah.
right, then we're actually going what you call off-label use.
Yes. Yeah.
Now,
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal. We could go off-label. Now, insurers could decide not to pay for the drug because it's not labeled properly. It's off-label use. Now, it's a pretty high bar to have a medication be approved for a certain diagnosis, because it has to go through the research process that the FDA puts you through.
Yeah.
I don't know how detailed that is, but it is very stringent. It takes years and years to get something approved. Now, what drug manufacturers will do is they'll get it approved for a certain condition, and then just do the other things you could use it for, even though it's not approved by the FDA. But then it becomes a clinical decision on our part.
Yeah.
Like for example, I have a patient that I'm using a medication for. It's really a diabetic weight loss medication, but he's not diabetic. But he still wanted it, and we believe that the medication will truly help him because the obesity is the issue.
Yeah.
So he's paying out of pocket. I'm prescribing it off-label use. He is getting very good benefit from it.
Yeah.
Even though I know, hey, it's off-label use. He knows that I told him this is off-label use, but it's the exact same medication, just relabeled.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's. Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. It's very, very popular
Yes.
now.
Yes. It's actually out of stock a lot of times.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, that's where sometimes I feel like you'd say that I wish the FDA would act faster sometimes. However, if the FDA acts too fast without enough data to research, that's where issues could occur.
Yeah.
Remember the issue with the weight loss drug, Fen-Phen?
Yes.
That was causing the valvular disease.
Yeah.
I mean, that was initially approved by the FDA.
Yeah.
But then further studies have shown, oh, it's actually bad.
Yeah.
So that's where the FDA is kind of, I guess, in a bit of a quandary wherein how fast should they act? If they act too fast, are they really, they always have the ability to pull stuff off.
They do have the ability to pull stuff off. And not that we're not going to talk about that, but it has become a little, we talked about that briefly before filming, is that the FDA has become a little bit subject to bias from drug companies and things like that.
They really shouldn't be, because they're a government agency.
I know, but we know that. But things like fen.
Was that lobbied? Is that why that got through? I don't really know.
Well, somebody wants to make money on it, so they want it approved quicker. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though, right? From the FDA's perspective, they look at risk versus benefit. If the studies are showing, hey, there is very, very, very good benefit from this with little risk, they could actually move the approval process up faster and approve it sooner, because the argument becomes, why are we holding off on having these patients have the ability?
Yeah, but then of course, but then you saw what happened with.
Yeah, but then
this is why it takes years sometimes to approve vaccines, for instance.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, for sure. And if you look at the global healthcare system, there's a lot of research from a medication perspective that really goes on outside of the United States. I mean, there's a lot of, I work with a lot of different startups and new companies, and I know a lot of these other founders, and they actually stay away from the US. The US is one of their last markets, because it's just so hard to push stuff through.
Yeah.
So they would go into Europe, get traction there, get it pushed there.
Yeah.
If you look at the Da Vinci robot, the surgical robot, I mean, that took off in Korea. But now it's widely used here.
Yeah.
But it took off in Korea. Everyone, basically a lot of surgeons, they were just using it, and they were looking like, well, why aren't you using this?
Right.
So they just said, okay, we better, we better start using this. Like, I have a friend who's, it actually, to even get trials, it costs a lot of money. Because I have a friend who's in the robot industry, and his robot, he told me it cost him about $300,000 a trial. So he has to pay the surgeons to use his robot to go on the trial. Yeah. So anyway, it is quite. But I am very grateful that we have the FDA. It's a check and balance.
Yes.
It's a system that we could, for the most part, trust and be comfortable with. Yes, is it perfect? No. But just like any other system, any other agency, there's nothing perfect there. But at least what's nice is when you work with the whole global community and are open to that, then you get to see the European agencies maybe pushing stuff a little bit faster. Asian agencies pushing stuff a little bit faster, and then you kind of learn collectively as a group. So good. Do you have any other comments on the FDA?
I don't think so, actually. No? Yeah.
Would you want to work for the FDA?
No. Would you?
I don't think so.
No, that's not my thing.
I don't like being regulated. I'm too much of a free spirit. I'll probably get fired on day one.
Exactly.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to our next episode.
Yep. Take it easy.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.